Hello, everybody. All right, in this first reaction video, we are going to be reacting to uh, an argument against free will, which is all too common. Now, before we start, you all have the choice to continue watching or to stop, thus showing that you have free will. Anyway, before I discuss it any further, let's start and listen to the argument.
The argument against free will, in my view, we can build an argument, I think, from a law of logic, the proposition that P must either be true.
Okay, let's start here. A law of logic, meaning complete rationalism, meaning no empiricism, no experiential inputs here. This is a common problem with rationalists in general, is they think that all of the universe can be figured out just by thought experiments, by sitting in your armchair and thinking in a dark room and illuminating the world. Obviously, we need a little bit of thought experiments, but we definitely need empiricism. We need experiential data. We need sensory inputs. We need an integration of the two to have a proper outlook on life. Anyway, starting with rationalism, it's gonna end badly. Let's continue.
True or false, and it can't be both, it can't be neither. We can simply ask a question of any kind of mental activity. Is it determined or is it not? That is it determined by anything else or is it completely undetermined by anything? If it's undetermined by anything, then it's random, and you're by definition not in control of that which is random.
Is it determined by anything or is it determined by nothing? Well, it's determined by my free will. How about that? They say, oh, well, no. They're reducing us, or Alex here, Alex O'Connor, cosmic skeptic, is reducing consciousness, and specifically rational human consciousness, to being under the influence of any other material in the universe. It's materialism. It is necessarily mystical, because how do things happen? Oh, if it's just material, it discounts volition and the power of ideas. Say you can't see it under the microscope, sure, but we know it exists empirically. Onward.
If it's determined by something, then it's either determined by something further inside your mind or it's determined by something external to your brain. If it's determined by something external to yourself, if that's what's determining the action, then clearly you're not in ultimate control of that action. If it's something inside of yourself somewhere, then all you do is push the problem back and you ask the question again, is that thing determined or is it indeterminate?
This is a false dichotomy. This is a logical error. The false dichotomy between it has to be this or it has to be that, when it doesn't have to be this. Similarly, we could talk about, well, the mystery here is where consciousness comes from. Like how are things conscious? For instance, right when you die, you have the same material in your brain that you had when you were living, but you are no longer conscious. This is a fact. Nobody can deny this fact. People will deny consciousness altogether because the material doesn't change, but this is the materialistic view of the universe, which is fundamentally mystical because it is denying the results of consciousness, the results of volition. Similarly, we can talk about gravity, for instance. Like we have described gravity. Newton described gravity basically, which works in all real earthly circumstances. A lot of people like to say that Newton was wrong. We can get into this in another one, but he was not wrong. Einstein did not disprove Newton. He simply updated Newton. Newton did not understand that mass could change depending on how fast you were going. With Einsteinian relativity, he showed and proved that this is in fact the case. As you increase speed, you increase mass. So if you update F equals ma, and specifically the m, the mass, to be changeable depending on the speed of the object, then F equals ma is completely valid still. Anyway, we can describe the way gravity works and the effects and how it works. This is to say nothing about where gravity comes from. Just because we can't explain, or don't even try to explain, where gravity comes from does not invalidate our knowledge about gravity. Same thing with consciousness. We do not know where it comes from, but that does not mean we can invalidate the effects of consciousness. It is a feature of our reality, consciousness. Many animals are conscious. You can debate on what the line is on what is conscious and what is not, but we can clearly say that humans are conscious. In the same way, we can clearly say that gravity exists. We do not need to prove the origin to study the effects. Onward.
Either of which you are completely out of control. If you say that it terminates in something like a soul, people like to do this. They say, well, look, with a religious philosophy, we have the benefit of introducing a soul. That doesn't solve anything. It's not a...
Correct here. The soul solves nothing. Saying that God did it says nothing. That's the same in every aspect of life. Talk more about that later.
Matter of having to explain the mechanism by which the soul brings about actions. That may well be a mystery. But if it is the case that whatever it is that's doing that is either determined or it's not, and that if it's not, it's random and therefore out of your control, and that if it is, it ultimately terminates in something outside of yourself or something random, and both of which are out of your control, free will cannot exist.
All right. We'll end it there. That's where the little clip ends. So ironically, he gives you a choice. Either you don't have free will because of determinism, or you don't have it because of randomness. Make your choice on which one you like better. I wonder. This is called stolen concept fallacy, as Ayn Rand has told us. Stolen concept fallacy regards using a concept to disprove the concept. So in this sense, he's using free will to think and bring up options while denying the use of free will. Similar to, this is a skeptical argument in general, as is evidenced by his name, the Cosmic Skeptic, that he has now distanced himself from a little bit. So he goes by his own name, Alex O'Connor. But yeah, the idea that knowledge is not possible. Well, how do you know this? Well, of course, you're using knowledge to disprove knowledge. It's a stolen concept fallacy. It's dead upon arrival. From square one. There is no way forward. This is typical rationalist thinking. It is important to note that rational and rationalism are completely different things. We are rational, meaning that we use rationality or reason, but rationalism is the dichotomy is rationalism and empiricism. So it's epistemological concepts like, where does knowledge come from in general? Is it rationalistic in the sense that, like I said, you can just sit in a dark room and thought experiment and conjure up all the truths of reality? Or is it empirical, which is we trust our sensory data, our perceptions, and we test through experience? Of course, experience without any sort of thought is useless, but thought without experience is absolutely useless. So we need an integration of the two. That's quite simply it. So yeah, free will. The best analogy I have to show that we have free will is to talk about parking your car in a parking lot. So we pull up to whatever it might be. We pull up to the grocery store, and in the parking lot, there are cars there parked, and there are empty spaces that are available for us to park at. And of course, you can't park at a space that is already being occupied by another car. So you have to park in a free space. This is an example of free will. Now, people would say, oh, well, if you had free will, you would be able to park anywhere you want. Well, this is not the argument of free will. This is basically it's a straw man argument against free will, saying that either you are God, you are ubiquitous and omnipotent and can choose precisely anything and everything you want, or you have no free will at all. A false dichotomy, also a straw man argument, just logical fallacy, simply. No, the idea of free will is that you make choices. Not that you have choice to determine your nature. We do not. Free will does not mean that we can alter the metaphysical facts of the universe. Free will means that we have the choice on how we react within reality, to reality, however you would like to say it. It does not require omnipotence. It does not require any sort of infinite power or knowledge or choice. It just the fact that we have some choice, and that is free. It's not like this is also confusing the metaphysical versus the man-made, right? There are metaphysical facts about nature that are completely independent of human knowledge. These facts, or rather not human knowledge, but just human action, totally. They have nothing to do with what we decide. They are facts of reality. And of course, what is reality? Reality is all that exists. It is everything. It is reality. Then there are man-made facts, that are results of our choices, quite simply. It doesn't have to be that this building exists, but after I make this building, it is now a metaphysical fact, but it is also man-made in the sense that we had the choice to create it or not. Anyway, we have free will. Anybody that says that we don't is simply exercising their free will by choosing to argue against the fact that they're choosing anything. Stolen concept fallacy. Quite simple. Let's move on. Let's accept that knowledge is knowable and that choices are chosen. Again, we're actually thinking here. Hope you guys enjoy it. See you next time.